How you handle your lawn care impacts our water and air. In 1 hour, a gas-powered mower produces the same amount of pollution as a car driven 100 miles. Gas-powered lawn equipment harms our air. And yard waste down storm drains causes flooding and water pollution. Using too much fertilizer releases harmful chemicals into our air and runs off lawns, eventually reaching our rivers and streams. Healthy lawn care habits protect your family, our community, and the environment. Healthy yards for healthy communities.
It is 6:04 and the first meeting of the Community Enrichment Advisory Committee is called to order. Ryan.
Present.
Jess.
Present.
Peggy.
Present.
Bess is here. Kathy.
Here.
Simon.
Present.
Our three members that are out tonight are Martin, Anitra, and Marcia. Our first action item is the consideration of our bylaws. There's really only one note to make on the bylaws, is that the acronym for SEAC, unless it's been updated, in some places it is CEC, and other places it's SEAC. Just making sure that that's in our final product is all that needs to be done. But it looks like that was finished. In the version we had previously, it was CEC and CEAC.
Can I make one note? And it's just that
Mike.
uh-oh. I think it's just that I'm short. Can I make one note? And it's just that in the second article, there's no mention of a strategic plan, but in the mission, we talk about doing the strategic plan. So like E, I believe, let's see. So the mission, in the mission, it says, by developing, implementing, reviewing a North Kansas City Community Enrichment Strategic Plan. But we don't mention that up in like the other section above that, which is our purpose section. And then my other note on that same thing is that, similar to something I had brought in previously, which was that we are an advisory committee, so our connection to a strategic plan is to develop and review the strategic plan that this committee creates for the broader city. And if and when that strategic plan is voted on by city council, like, this committee would absolutely have ownership of various pieces of that plan. But like, the strategic plan is, the implementing portion is weird. But again, also we should include that in the above portion.
I wonder if what the committee will work to, the statements up there, the A through F, are telling us that, and then at the bottom it just labels it as a strategic plan.
Or I think E could be we could add advise and make recommendations to the mayor and city, like almost have all that encompassed through a strategic plan. And then in part F, then have a piece about implementing a strategic plan. No, that it wouldn't fit in F, but somewhere in here about utilizing and promoting the strategic plan. Simon, you're really good at wordsmithing. Help.
So you're saying, I just want to make sure that I understand. So you're saying in general that it feels like E would be the strategic plan.
Yes.
I do think that that's a good idea. I think it kind of seems, if we were going to try to come up with like writing out an actual strategic plan, it does seem like it would be a little redundant, stacked up against the A, B, C, D, E, F of it all. I think Peggy kind of had a good point of like, all of that seems to be what would make up what our strategic plan is. So we would call, like, instead of saying the committee will work to, and then have all those listings that would say the committee's strategic plan is, and then that's our strategic plan. But I do want to know if, Jess, if you think that that settles kind of what that concern is.
I was just going by reviewing like the previous committee's bylaws and the way that it was lined up, and that was something that was on the bylaws, and it was something that I think the committee themselves worked on for a while, so I believe there was already an existing strategic plan, but I could be wrong. So I was just wondering if we were going to bring that piece into this, but I do understand what Peggy's saying. Like, all of these things are things that would be addressed in the strategic plan. But also, I will say then we should mention it somewhere else so that it makes sense in our mission to say that we're going to like develop and implement a strategic plan.
Yeah, I do think that that's a good point of having it mentioned previously. And honestly, okay, so first off, with the changing of the bylaws, like I was in the past pretty staunchly in the camp that like we push forward with what our language was previously. That being said, like I've read this a lot, and honestly, it feels really good. Like it modernizes, it, knocks the dust off some things, and it is really productivity forward, right? So I would like to get this like just approved and ready to go. And I think that weird kind of logic flaw in it that I think is valid of like saying, hey, we talk about a strategic plan here, but nowhere else. I think the simplest solution to that would be to say, just the line where it says the committee will work to, and then lists all those things, just have that say the committee's strategic plan is, but that's just my take.
So we want to update the language, the committee will work to, into the committee's strategic plan is. Strategery.
Do we have, I don't want to like put our new liaison on the hot seat real fast, but do you have any take on it? Any issues that you might see with doing that?
Off the bat, no. I mean, I read through it. I'm new, gonna get my footing, and excited to do that. But no, and I mean, I think if you all are in agreement, then I think that's great. You guys are experts here, way more than I am. So, yeah, no, I think updating that language would make a lot of sense.
Okay, new idea because it's under section 2 purpose. The committee's purpose and strategic plan is to all of those things. Is that too weird?
I don't think so at all.
Great. I often do too weird of things. Okay. And then all points, Jess, does that hit the 2 pieces? I think you had about 2 pieces you were discussing. Great. And then the mission piece talks about the North Kansas City Community Enrichment Strategic Plan.
Are we allowed to use diverse representation?
No, where is that?
That is down under membership. The members of the CEAC shall be varied in experience and a diverse representation of our city's residents.
Lighted on fire. Where is it? Sorry.
Article, the membership. Okay. It's like the couple lines down.
I'm kind of surprised and not surprised that was missed, because it's not necessarily talking about what our purpose is or the way that we
Yes.
operate. It's talking about who we are.
It's
So
also
I'm
in
like,
our
okay.
strategic plan, I believe.
That's
like
probably
that,
why I read
so-
that 10 times. And
In draft
It didn't.
78, I think I took it out, but maybe put it back in draft 1875.
You're talking about the membership part where it says shall be varied in experience in the. I didn't see anything in there that would be a red flag.
The word is a red flag according to the
Diversity.
federal mandate. Like that word is one of the red flag words.
Yeah, I know, but it's diverse. It's not inclusion and diversity. It's just diverse. I mean, everything. You could have a diverse group of people. You can have a diverse group of food. You could, you know what I
I
mean?
wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just
That
hope. I
was
think
like-
I'm hoping they would just slide by that.
Well,
I think
Control
that's
F
what we
is
are,
a
yeah.
problem.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I very much agree with it too. But at the same time, we are doing a lot to ensure our survival and operation as a committee, and I would hate to have a hang up on, like, surely this isn't a problem. No, yes, it's definitely a problem because we're, ignorant. Like,
Can we just say representative of the community and leave out diverse representation of the community?
I love that. Thanks, Jess.
yeah, the sentence is still grammatically correct, just removing the word.
Yeah, and then we don't have to, and it says the same thing, which I think is important.
Yeah.
My one last and final feedback on this was that D up at the top, Article 2, I just feel like that we should close the loop there, like a feedback loop, because it says that we would essentially report the results to City Council. The only thing I think that we need to add is and to the public, because our job is bridging those two things. And that's literally it. Other than that, I think it looks great, and we can just jump into stuff now.
Perfect. Thanks for being new eyes on this. Well, new old eyes on this. I can't tell you how many times I've read it in the last month. If we are all in agreement that those are the only edits needed to make, is there a motion to approve our new bylaws from our committee?
Move to approve?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Right. All in favor? If that were in our governing rules, we should have added it now. All right, moving on to section 4. This is a wonderful act of tonight that makes people feel weird. Selection of officers. This is something we've gone back to nothing that we've gone back to. In this committee, we will have 3 officers, co-chairs, and a secretary. Based on that, there are going to be 2 chairs, mostly if either one is absent, hopefully the other will be here, as well as just kind of switching off. So because it's a lot of responsibility for one person to carry it all, as well as a secretary. When there was no staff liaison, building minutes and agendas was up to one of us. Now we have a wonderful staff liaison, and yes, I hope someone is taking minutes, because it isn't. I don't know who's doing that. I mean, I think all of us will do something with it. It'll be great. It'll be a wild ride. Sorry. Thanks. So with that, those 3 pieces are available, or those 3 positions are available. And you can self-nominate, which is fun. You can nominate someone else, which is fun, but we believe in consent on this committee, so they need to be here for being able to do that.
Who were it was you and Martin?
It was me and someone who is no longer with us, Daniel Trotter.
Oh, Daniel.
Not with us on the committee.
Yeah, no, Daniel,
no, he's still here. He's
yes,
just in.
yeah.
He's in Minnesota. He's still here. So it was me and Daniel. When he left the committee, it just went unappointed, and I kind of just said, "Hey, I'm not going to be there. Run the meeting," and that has worked well. But also, we have 3 people out: Martin, Marcia, and Anitra.
Do we want to table that kind of decision until they are here, since they cannot be nominated in their absence?
Oh, we can nominate them. It's whether or not they want to be voted on.
Okay.
It's rude, but we can do it.
Okay. I was like, but the decision still couldn't be finalized until
Correct.
they. Yeah. Okay.
If that's what we choose to
I
do.
was just suggesting that we do, in case so we can find our second co-chair, especially since Martin's kind of been stepping in and doing it.
Yeah, I was going to say not necessarily like tabling the discussion right now. Like, it's good to have the discussion, but to not make any decisions in their absence. And, oftentimes, we're a 9-person committee, and availability is an issue sometimes. So it'd be good to have the discussion now, and then in the next meeting, ideally, everyone would be here, but there's a good chance that that could not be the case. So kind of between meetings, eventually everybody will be able to weigh in. And I think we can really get that in 2, like in 2 meetings.
And if nothing else, people who were nominated could say, like, absolutely not, no thank you, or I would like to do that.
Yeah.
And then we can vote on it in our next meeting. Because that is not in our bylaws, which I think, because that's not how we do it in our bylaws, is that something we would have to vote on?
To table a decision?
To move the vote to our next meeting.
I do believe this committee has the ability to move anything that's on the agenda to another agenda. It's just you can't discuss items that aren't on the agenda.
Great, so we can discuss it tonight and move the vote to next meeting. Great.
Correct, because the public needs to be able to have the ability to comment on something. So you can decide not to do something on an agenda, but you can't do something that's not on an agenda.
Okay, is there anyone who would like to self-nominate for a position?
I would kind of like to be a bummer and kind of self-un-nominate.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so just little explanation. Like, I missed our most recent committee meeting before this one because of work availability. I missed our most recent work session because of work availability. Work availability has kind of been strange lately, and while I would love to take the reins and do all of it, I don't feel like it would be fair to the committee if availability issues because of my work continue. And so that's why, like, I would love to do it, but I don't think it would be fair to the committee for me to do either the co-chairs or the secretary roles.
Can I ask a question? I know when we started this committee, we chose Thursday at 6 because of a million other meetings and reasons and stuff. Is that still work for everybody, ideally? Or would that, is it possible to change that at some point in the next meeting? I know we technically just agreed on it in the bylaws. I'm just saying, if there was a Wednesday that would work better and everyone's like, yeah, actually Wednesday's perfect. Is that something to consider with a new committee? Or is that a lot of stress that Kim's face is like,
Yeah.
It's a lot of navigating and scheduling.
It is in the bylaws that you just passed.
It is, yes.
That does not, in my thought, that doesn't mean it'd be this room availability. So if the expectation was broadcast, this room does have some limitations on just Monday evenings are court nights. There's a standing city council, standing planning commission. And then it would be, can staff, if this meeting were to move dates, times, whatever, could the associated staff, do they have a conflict already on their calendar that wouldn't allow the broadcast component, if that makes sense?
So maybe then just let it ride. Yeah.
So it landed on this because it just seemed like that's where all the stars and moons aligned at that time. If there was some conversation, I think that would probably be something that would need to go on into an agenda, that way because I think that the want would be a time and place that works well for the committee and for the public who may want to be able to participate. So, I think that if you guys were looking into that, we could add that as a discussion topic for the next agenda.
Is that something that we would even be in? Simon, is that something that might?
So I forgot to say that point as well as I'd been thinking about this because when the agenda came out, I'd been thinking about what I was going to say about availability stuff. And I forgot to mention also that while I understand that we could, we did literally just change our meeting time from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m. fairly recently. And we would have to radiate that and speak with Megan and Mike who are out for this meeting. It's certainly possible. At the same time, I would be absolutely mortified if we had to move an entire meeting over one person, albeit an enthusiastic person, but one person.
That's why I was asking everybody.
No, I
it was a
very
long
much
time ago
appreciate
that we
it.
set this Thursday. There's new people, new everything, and I was just like, does this still work for everybody? But this sounds like a lot of a lot of work. So
I do appreciate the thought.
we just maybe stick with what we got. So.
So we are still on the topic of selection of officers and any potential self-nominations or other nominations.
I would nominate Bess and Marcia, but so we have 2 nominations for Marcia, but I feel like a jerk doing it in her
Not here, so we
Yeah.
can nominate her.
She can't stop us, but she could be super busy and maybe
I
doesn't
mean, you
wanna
can
take
nominate.
us.
She has a month to say yes or no.
That's true. To think about it. In fact, yeah, we nominate Marcia. I nominate Bess as our co-chairs.
I would love to do it.
My
Second
thought-
nominating Bess.
My first thought was Bess was an obvious choice. I also thought, and I'm not really sure where it shakes out between co-chairs and the secretary position. You know, we'll figure it out from there. But another thought that I had was like, Jess has always been heavily involved despite not being on the committee yet. A lot of the documentation that is on the agenda is stuff that Jess prepared before the committee meeting. I see you shaking your head over there.
I like being on the committee. I feel like Bess brings the experience with having done this for a long time, and personally, just in watching, I really like a lot of the things that Marcia has to say and how she sort of like pushes things forward and brings it back a lot.
Exhibit A, Community Engagement Plan. Exhibit B, Ad hoc Subcommittee Plan. Exhibit C, Community Engagement Plan of the Community Enrichment Committee. Oh, God. Exhibit D, Active Record Keeping System. I nominate Jess Loya to be secretary.
I also have severe ADHD, and secretary is probably something that I would struggle with, like month to month. I would try to like do it last minute or.
I have plans for you, my friend. You actually, there's literally nothing you do in meeting.
So the only thing I was thinking about for the secretary, which is now a future conversation because it's further on the agenda, is for the like keeping of like a collective data source is really what I would see if somebody else is already doing minutes and things that they
I
used to do.
actually think it's one of your ideas around the like welcome and orientation system.
Ooh,
And
okay.
the like, here are the things we've done, here's the evidence of it. Here is like our Beaverton file. I haven't referenced Beaverton in forever.
Beaverton is where it all started.
And I honestly, like, based on what I've like gone over to help build the agenda, I think you would be excellent at it. You do the research.
So I don't have to do minutes, and I don't have to I do not have to collect the minutes. That's all. I just want to make sure.
I mean, unless Megan like storms in here's like, I'm never doing minutes again. I think you're fine.
In which case, maybe we could just tag team that. Then yes, I will consider
Hey,
that
Megan.
nomination. Simon.
I did have a couple of questions, and they're mainly administrative questions, I think. First, could we potentially move tonight on some of the seats, some of the officers, but not all of the officers?
If this governing body would like to vote on the secretary position, if the person is here, has the ability to accept, and since we have a quorum, be able to vote, yes, it's the one that, if the nomination, according to my notes, which I'm trying to do the best job I can, Jess. One of the nominees is not here to be able to accept the nomination so that the committee can vote. You would be able to, if this consensus would be to nominate Jess and then to perform a vote, you would be able to do that separate action tonight.
Okay. So the reason I ask is a little bit of a different direction. And first off, I'm not saying that we have to vote on any of the officers tonight because obviously it'd still be great to have the other people. What if all 3 of them want the 3 officers' positions, but then we already voted on one, right? So like that kind of thing. The reason I was asking was because Bess, as one of the co-chairs, seemed like an easy one of like, we could vote on that tonight, consider the rest of them at the next meeting, and anybody who we think would be really good for the position and who has done a lot of work for the position, such as Jess, would be able to consider it, to take time to sleep on it, that kind of thing. I don't want you to feel pressured into taking anything right now, But that's all kind of up to Bess and Jess about, would you be open to having your nomination voted on tonight? Would you like to sleep on it? Would we like to table all of the votes for any officers until next meeting?
I will say to your second thing, yes to Bess, and then I will wait and see what Marcia says.
I've got a quick question. Because if you look in here, it says the secretary is going to record the minutes of each regular meeting. So, and prepare the written minutes, blah, 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 blah. And it even tells you 3 business days prior. So it's kind of like being back in school. So do we,
So
we
we
want to
just
do other
approve the
things with
bylaws.
this position? I mean, are we thinking, I don't feel like we have to follow this word for word in a place, like in a role. Well, we don't have to, as far as like what you do as secretary. Because in the bylaws, it says all you're
Yes.
going to do is do minutes. That's it. You're not.
Which I think was previously what the secretary did till we had a staff person, but also, yes, if we change what the secretary does, we do need to change it in the bylaws, do we not? Because the bylaws are like the laws of the committee.
So I will say, we wrote this when we had, like this, the original draft of this was written when we had nothing.
The bylaws? Or
Yeah, we were meeting on Zoom.
Yes.
So,
And we were getting very like input from like Kim, and then Kim would be like, wait, I talked to so-and-so, and
And
Tom
this is
said
fake, you don't actually
this.
have to do
Yeah,
this.
just kidding. Or you do have to do this. Tom said, actually, this is necessary.
so because we were given a person to fulfill the role.
Yes. So now the
That's
role
why
can
someone
be something
took that
different,
role.
but if we make it something different, we do need to outline that later in the bylaws, is what I'm saying. But you are correct. Right now, we just approved that the secretary keeps minutes, and
I'm going to make you follow the rules.
So
I
it's a
mean,
new
the
role
bylaws
for
are the
me.
rules, and
It's a new
technically,
role.
we are held to them,
So
so
I clerk several.
pretty important.
I clerk several different committees that have a formal secretary role and a staff support, which is usually somebody who's sitting over here. How that's worked before is the staff support person is more of your administrative person who helps with things. With minutes, I've taken those before and I've sent them to the secretary of record or to make sure that my recollection matched their recollection. And then that was attached to an agenda, if that makes sense. So if Megan has done those style of minutes for you before, she would probably send them to whoever this committee votes to be their secretary within those 3-day stop clock. But a lot of that would be multiple eyes make a better document at all times. So my guess would be, and I'm speaking for poor Megan, who's probably watching from home going, Kim, please stop. If she was doing your the minutes before, because she also clerks for another committee, then it would be a coordination role to be able to help support the person in that secretary role. So your job would be to review those minutes for accuracy, and if there were any changes or edits for you and your role to please make those. That way, when the minutes are brought forward for consideration and adoption, they are exactly the way the secretary would like them to be.
Okay, so I have a question for Kim. So what you just mentioned that like you've clerked for committees that have a secretary, and what we have discussed that like we had a secretary back when we didn't have a staff person acting as clerk for us. So in your experience, do you feel, and I'm not trying to call into question or say that like we shouldn't have a secretary, but I am wondering if do you feel like it's necessary to have a secretary if you have a staff person acting as clerk?
I think it's a comfort level for the committee. Oftentimes, and I'm on boards of commissions, you guys are all on a board or commission where you do have that secretary, and some of that is if your staff support person is ill, not able to make it, they were there, they heard those small conversations, they are charged with making the first round draft. This committee is lucky enough to be broadcast and recorded, not all of them are. So that secretary role really comes into play if for some reason the AV for this particular room, very similar to like the planning commission, right? The audio dropped out. hopefully somebody was taking paper notes at that. I mean, we caught some sound from another place, but that person would be kind of going through, double checking, making sure that they are capturing that for the public record, just in case your backstop doesn't work. Like I said, and then for your kind of other, we would consider that other duties as assigned in our world. If you chose to go above and beyond what's in the bylaws, sometimes that's by the unique talents and abilities of that individual who happens to be wearing that hat. So part of me, I would caution putting too much into your bylaws, because that may make somebody never want to step into that role, because maybe they could do the minutes, but they're not so great at this other thing that you've added in after. So again, we call that's that catchphrase, other duties as assigned. And that's just really utilizing the talents that you have at your bench in whatever role that happened to be in, whether it's a formal secretary role or maybe you're tapping somebody else at the dais who's really great at visual presentations, music, whatever it might be.
So that being said, I move that we make the decision on best tonight, because I believe we can. Is that correct?
I am cautious to do that, because what if Marcia says, I absolutely hate Bess, I don't want to co-chair with her? I'm just saying it's an option. I don't think she'll say that, but.
Okay, well then I move that we table this till next meeting and we move on.
Second.
All in,
Yeah, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. We have no minutes from the last meeting because it didn't exist. So moving on to comments from the public. I don't need a vote on no real minutes, right? Great. Comments from the public.
We have 3 council members here. That's pretty cool. 4, if we include Kristen, technically. We have like half the council here right now. It's pretty cool. Just saying.
I know you do, Kim. That was for you. All right. Let's go ahead and hop into our next steps. All right. I am going to preface this with, remember, we have a 45-minute limit. That gets us at about, let's keep the update to houselessness at about 10 minutes, because I feel like we can do that. All right. Does any subgroup want to go from there?
I can talk about the buddy bag thing.
Go ahead.
Martin and I met with Rita and she told us that she did not need that because they already do that. They already have bags that they give people with those same type of supplies in them. We did not, at that point, approach on the Betty bag, which would be more of the supplies for a woman that would come in there rather than a man. So we did not get that far. I'm not sure on the connection with I will tell you that if we want to have a food drive, because we kind of did talk about that, we do not work with Rita. We work with, and I wrote her name down and now I can't find it. I wrote it down. I had it on my piece of paper and then I lost it. We work with the other woman and her business card fell out. We work with her. And I apologize to her if she's listening. I have her name written down here. Nancy. We work with Nancy for food drives. And so I sent Nancy an email today about a possible food drive for the city. Actually, I also asked her about another food drive that I'm working on with the Northgate Village. So I told her, I said, we'd like to come in and talk to her about it, because it's going to be a little more complicated than it would be with a little neighborhood, just everybody going up there and dropping off their food. And I needed to find out, what did the city have, how would we want to collect food, where would we have people put it? Do we want to have barrels set up in the police station or the fire station if someone wanted to donate food for a food drive? So we really haven't gotten down to those small details yet. But I believe, Ryan, you're going to be working with Martin and I on that. Yeah.
I know Martin and I had talked briefly too. I wonder if there would be any way we could connect with high school for the multicultural fair to see if they would want to piggyback and do a food drive in conjunction.
Last year, I believe our main point of contact graduated and brought in the next person.
Okay.
Martin will know and have her contact
Okay.
information.
Yeah, I wonder, because I feel like we could that'd be a really effective way to capture a lot of people for a food drive.
Homerooms love to do that.
Okay.
If we could sponsor a pizza party, I'm
Oh,
sure it
yeah,
would be even
for sure.
more exciting.
Yeah.
Can I ask, when you guys met, was there any needs that the NAC outlined? Anything that they were like, hey, you guys could help us with this?
No. No, not when we discuss it with Rita. I'm looking forward to meeting with Nancy. I think maybe we might get a little more information.
So just to go back to the buddy bags, first off, Rita's response of thanks, but no thanks, totally understandable. You know, they have their supplies, and if it's, you know, an overburden of supplies for the amount of, you know, interested takers that they have, totally get it. I don't necessarily think that like has to prevent us from continuing the buddy bag idea. We would just need to figure out a new place to have them distributed. I will say off the top of my head, and I know that this is often decreases the interest somewhat in pursuing them, but the North Kansas City Police Station does have assistance things like, you know, their lost and found stuff. They have street sheets for folks. When I am at work at the Rhino or Mitch, and we have folks who come in who are looking for some assistance, we will often send them down here to City Hall because A, there are resources available, and B, it's one of the buildings in North Kansas City that is occupied at all times. So like, and I know that we don't have anybody from the police department here tonight to speak to if it would be a burden on them logistically to house buddy bags, things like that. But that was just the first avenue channel for which we could provide those off the top of my head. But
Yeah, I like that.
I don't necessarily think that not having Northland Assistance Center to provide them prevents us from continuing to try to pursue that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Peggy, thank you for talking to Northland Assistance. I was actually not thinking of placing there. I've been kind of thinking through where is open more often and would have like availability to be able to hand those out. Police station, City Hall were two that I was thinking of. And then other people who are like areas or groups and areas that have a houseless population near them. And I was thinking, I know First Baptist Church, the library, especially with their Narcan station, the Y, were a couple others to think of. And if you could help me with other locations that you think of in your daily spaces.
The hospital might be an option too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what resources they currently have, but
Great. Thank you. Okay, any other updates regarding our groups on assisting our houseless population? Moving on to more of, this is actually going to be Jess's talk time, which you've got 41 minutes. Yes, it is. That's okay.
I'm getting a note. If you could lean into your microphone.
Yes. Sorry, guys.
Thank you.
So basically, all I'm saying is that in the past, I think there were some places where we could have done better to make sure that we were like hitting our goals as outlined in our mission and bylaws. And then just feedback from community members is just a lot of lack of understanding usually. And I think I brought many, many moons ago that like we should be out there. One of the best ways that we can make ourselves known is engaging, and that is how people will come to know us sitting at like a Parks and Recs event of some kind. It has to be more than just visibility. It also has to be like, here's all these fun ways you could get involved. Here's subcommittees that you could join. Here's the active projects that we are working on. So all of these things, foundationally, I was hoping would help us get that done. So we can just sort of briefly start at the first one. Going all the way up. So onboarding and record keeping. A lot of times when a new member would join the committee previously, there was a lot of catch-up period and trying to figure out exactly where what they needed to be doing, like where they were jumping in. I also think that previously, there was also that same issue with like a council liaison, was sort of knowing like what had happened and where they needed to jump in, and just having some basic onboarding procedures, ways in which we introduce new members to this board or this committee, having them, understand how to read a city council agenda, just things that we might not actually think of where we're like, oh, they've probably never, like people don't necessarily just do this for funsies at home. So we should maybe show them like the right way to do it. Also just like procedural things like, do I say yes or do I say aye? I don't know. So just like simple things. And then with that, this is just like a weird additional thing that sometimes in a corporate space works well for both onboarding and for engaging community members who might not have otherwise have been interested, is holding maybe like 2 times a year onboarding sessions where we just sort of talk about what the committee does, what it looks like to serve on the committee. Like one of us who's available essentially could go in and discuss like what we do on the committee, the work we're doing, what would be required of them if they wanted to join. And it's open to the community. They could come even if they weren't currently on the committee or thinking about it, but that way they sort of know what they're getting into. I think Kim did a really good job of that with with the program that you do, which Citizens Academy, thank you, which I think did a really great job of helping us understand the inner workings of the city, which I think has now activated a lot of people into working in the city. So engagement. So that is like the one part of it is the onboarding, and then the record keeping goes with the onboarding in the sense of we should have fully transparent records. So we are lucky enough that these are recorded, so anybody can go and watch them anytime. A lot of people also don't want to do that, but again, are interested in what this committee is doing. So having some sort of central repository, which I know is a city issue, because I think we also talked about this last time, which was we could have like updates on the committee's webpage, newspaper things where like we could send a tidbit to the newspaper, correct? But having like a Google Drive of sorts of committee information would become legally gray area.
I don't know if it's a legally gray area. There's a little bit of a technical challenge, and this is where I'll be honest, if you were so inclined in your secretary role, the proposed secretary role, it's really the generating those documents. I think that we could post it to the website fairly easily. I think that there'd be a little bit of, I'll be honest, maybe throwing it up onto the screen and saying, is this where you like this? Is this where I think that there's a little bit of sandboxing that could be done to make sure that staff is meeting the committee's expectations and the limitations of the website tool itself, right?
Yes.
Websites, they do some things. We've all had in our corporate life. You have the salesperson tell you one thing, and then the implementation person tell you a different thing. Oh, we're no different. So I think that some of these things you could absolutely do. I think it's the preparation of any of the documentation. Really, as staff would be leaning on this committee for the generation of those documents. I think for us, posting it to a website's the easy part. Generating it is a little bit more of the harder, longer part for you guys. And I think that could even be something that one of the things that you can do in this space is actually hook up to a laptop and have somebody typing things as you go, and you all would be able to see them live at the monitors you're sitting at. It's a little bit of live sausage making, but that might help as well. I find that writing notes while I'm in the moment helps me when I'm clerking for something, and somebody could do that too. And then that could be attached to your minutes. So it would be both in the agenda area. So if somebody didn't want to have to go through the website and kind of find that, they just wanted it, this was said at this meeting, they could look at it in both the minutes component. So you could have kind of a beefier minutes packet, as well as on the website, kind of, if you wanted to categorize it by your goals, you know, you could have attachments that are there or your quick sheet. But again, we would look to you guys to help us have that document created. Absolutely. I think from a technical standpoint, we're happy to help post, but again, we wouldn't want to try to do that document creation component.
On that note, I will say I did create a Google Drive outlining all of the things that I put there, which only included things I had access to, which would be like the bylaws or the master plan or just things that exist in other spaces that I could kind of bring together to one space. So at some point in the next meeting, we could plug my computer in and look at that and discuss it.
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm remembering kind of the challenge or the caution, I should say, about having a Google Drive component on a municipal website is we are under cyber attack quite often. My worry would be somebody would get in there and do things that...
I was hoping we'd have like a more sophisticated option.
That's why I was thinking you would be able to, it would be on the city's website, it would be posted through the city's website, but it wouldn't have that group collab that
which
Google
it shouldn't.
Drive has.
It shouldn't, though.
Okay.
That's actually, isn't that a sunshine law issue with Google Drive? Is like
Well, we're fancy now. We have a drive, a cloud.
Oh.
I don't know about it. I have not gone
Like
through
us?
the email. Yeah.
We
It's
don't.
Outlook accounts.
Oh.
Okay, so I have a little quick update on that.
Okay.
And Jess, I wasn't sure if you were aware of this. We did get a fancy cloud storage. It is within the Microsoft ecosystem that operates within the city. We all got our own email addresses. Mine was previously EIC3B, as in the second Ward 3 member, at nkc.org. Awesome stuff. None of that exists anymore because we're no longer the EIC. So I'd imagine we'll need to figure out, Stephen and Chris, the IT folks from the city, are fantastic. They are very helpful. We'll probably need to reach out to them and say, hey, did you shift all of our stuff over to new logins? And I'll contact them and ask them the situation with that. But yeah, we should, just running forward, have our own cloud storage platform.
And in that cloud storage platform, I would assume, because this is city things, that is all publicly available information?
It depends. It depends on if it's public, and that's where you do get into the sunshine conflict, right? So I guess from a procedural standpoint, what I'd love to see is whatever the document is done after this meeting, you know, if you guys had small subcommittees and you guys were sharing files, not amongst the group, subcommittee, and it was ready to be published, then that goes over to the city's website. And the nice thing with that is it's less likely, because it's not tethered to an email address. That's where you start getting into the cloud drive. Usually when you're sharing files publicly, you are, again, you're just adding a level of risk there. Versus if you were to have an area on the website where I was just taking whatever the document you guys have finalized and posting it to that. That way anybody can open it. It's behind a firewall. There's no permissions that need to be granted because it's publicly available. Usually when you're doing drives and whatnot, you're getting into permissions. Like I said, I would just be cautious on anything that is permissions based versus this is out there, it's open, everybody in the world can see it.
Well, that is kind of the original idea of why we got our cloud storage thing was so that we can conveniently communicate with each other, but more importantly, B, that it was fully sunshine law compliant. Like, it was the whole thing that we worked through with, making sure that the city was okay with it, making sure that the IT staff employed within the city was okay with it. And I don't know if they just changed the names on it or anything, but sunshine laws were already well into consideration for that to even be established.
Well, then, that being said, go ahead.
But yeah, Kim, go ahead.
No. I can look into that. I can look into where that drive is currently and where the permissions are. Does that make sense? 'Cause
Yeah, no, that's totally fine.
we did move it. I can see what can be done from a technical standpoint. I can ask our IT director and have that available for you at the next meeting of kind of what that could look like. Like I said, I like it being posted to the web. To me, what I would worry about is your end user having to go through folder to find something, which just is what I think that you're trying to make sure that it's simple and accessible, it's easily found. So just making sure that that is
links
categorized.
and such.
Yeah, what
You know,
I'm
the
talking
promote-
about was not,
Yeah.
what I'm talking about
I
was
read your
not the
stuff.
thing that was the public facing. Yeah,
Our website is switched over. So you can get to our website that is already moved over. So when the documents are ready and we want them on our website interface, it can be applied to that.
fantastic. That's great.
I asked that question.
So I say, now that we've gotten through that and you guys understand what it is, we maybe work on that at a later time and sort of discuss what that looks like, how it's organized, what we'd like to see in it. I listed these things, and I could send I can't, because you have to have Google to be able to access a Google Drive, so I can explain it more to you if you'd like to talk about it, but these were just some basic, idea things that we would keep in there.
I think that's great. As soon as we can get them on our cloud, let's get them on our cloud.
Cool. So now I'm going to move on. Community engagement. That was the other thing that is sort of the one of the main roles of this committee, is to engage with the community in ways in which the city is maybe not already doing actively. I will say I think that is the point where we really are getting ourselves out there and getting ourselves known, and people are learning to lean on us, communicate with us, reach out by seeing us doing work actively. So I would say I have a lot that I would like for us to move forward on with community engagement. But really what it comes down to is meeting people where they are. So setting up, sort of like when me and Joe Gower would go sit up at Mackin Park with our little sign that says, North Kansas City, we live here, and we would just talk to people at the park and be like, hey, you want to come sit down and talk with us? And we would have really, really good conversations about what people loved about living in North Kansas City, what drew them to North Kansas City, what keeps them here, what they'd like to see done differently. And obviously we could sort of curate those conversations if we were doing something. If there was a really big city decision on bike lanes, we could make sure that we have essentially a community engagement plan is what I would like for us to actively work on, and then sort of make a schedule of where we have touch points and where we have time, because there's only, so many of us. We might not have every day available, but we might have a Saturday afternoon for 3 hours where we could go do work up at Little Store and be like, yo, open hours at Little Store if you want to stop by and chit chat or CEAC things. So really just the more ways that we can be getting out there. And then also something that I have brought up, I think 100 million times to people in the council who probably are sick of hearing it, which is really what Jesse Smith is doing, is having these planned forums for conversation. I love that Jesse is doing it, and I think it's so important that he is. I think love to see other city council members there also talking and taking questions. I think that'd be cool. But we could also create a platform like that where we have open forums and we discuss ongoing city concerns, issues, things that people would like to bring to us, et cetera. So really just honing in on what community engagement means to us and what we are doing to work towards that goal of really connecting with the people who live here, especially the ones who have maybe struggled with connecting with the city for various reasons in the past. So that includes renters. I know me and Tom Bailey had a discussion where we were sort of talking about renters, and I know a lot of time renters feel a little less than a part of the community itself. And I think that part of this engagement plan would hit those types of metrics where we're like, hey, what are we doing to reach out to renters to make sure that they know what's going on? So again, something that I would really like us to jump into and probably put on sort of like as an action item in the future is developing an ongoing community engagement plan and schedule, which would include those touch points, like next Saturday at whatever, I can be at wherever, things like that. And then I think part of that community engagement plan is sort of what I said before. If we are going to be going and sitting at various events, which we do, we would likely have touch points, things where we're like, hey, so this is also something we're working on. If you guys would like to take things that we can hand out, also like fun engagement pieces where we're like, take a Post-it and write your favorite thing about North Kansas City and put it on this wall behind me. But trying to literally just get people in the community talking to us about what's happening in the community and their feelings. So I'd really, really, really love for us to do work in that area. So there is a lot on that. You guys are super free to read through it, but at a future point, I would really love for us to sort of discuss. I included some next steps on there so we can look at that too. And then I think the big piece that really makes all of this come together is ad hoc subcommittees. There are 9 of us. We all have lives and families and children and other things that we are doing. So time is a commodity and it's really limited. But we are all here because we want to do really cool, really good things within North Kansas City. But there's also like a million other people in North Kansas City who want to do really cool things for the city. They just don't really know how to engage. And maybe they don't want to sit in a formal seat and, have to be there every Thursday at 6. This gives us a way to get work done in between meetings in a way in which we're not like violating sunshine laws. It also gives us a way to bring in community members to work on the issues that face them. Like that's the whole point of us is we are working on behalf of community members. So I think a lot of it is like it's really hard to do work on behalf of community members if we aren't actively out there talking to them. So so ad hoc subcommittees at some point, I think like especially for the group that is U3 working on issues with homelessness and houselessness, I think that would be a really great place to start an ad hoc subcommittee, see if we can get some community members involved who actively also want to work towards some goals. Also like more eyes, more voices, more ideas. It just sort of expands what we're doing and it makes it easier for everybody. So that is something I'd really like for us to consider. And then with all of that, Kim, I just have like some random questions from like related. Can children join? So I know like I had a conversation with Tom a couple days ago. We sort of had hit on that. I thought that we had previously sort of discussed that we wanted some youth engagement and youth involvement in various committees, but because like they had to be 18 or there was something that prevented them from actively like joining this committee. Am I just imagining?
Some committees have an age prism on them. I don't believe that this particular one does.
Okay.
But you figure it's an appointment-based one, so a youth, they'd have to be a resident, that's for sure. So that would be up to the individual council member to make them an appointment to the board or to this committee. I think, though, that if you guys are considering ad hoc, I think that that's a great way to make them included.
Agreed.
But perhaps not one of the sitting members. Does that make sense? So right now we have a full committee.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to get a youth one, it would be probably at the time that the council member would be considering their next appointment.
Okay, but something to think about. I really appreciated that conversation. Tom also suggested there were other city committees that they could potentially sit on where are not, like obviously there's a lot of like information heavy decisions being made, but also wanting to engage them and get them into the process so they know, which again leads to my second question, can they do Citizens Academy? Because my daughter, I told her no.
so glad you asked.
Now I feel bad.
So actually, one of the things that we are looking at, and this would be for the 2026 summer, is to do a summer camp. So some of the challenge with kiddos, and I have kiddos in the teenage prism as well, they are super booked, right? They have a lot going on in their life. So it is really challenging to find 10 weeks where they don't have some concert, a meet, a whatever. So we were thinking more summer camp. So one of the things that I'm working with is I'm actually working with Parks and Recreation to provide childcare posts, to kind of, like I've got kids too, right? So the last thing you want is like, our summer camp begins at 10 a.m. Parents, try to get your child there promptly. And oh, by the way, it's over at 4, so come pick them up. We understand that working parents can't make that work. So one of the things I'm trying to coordinate with Victoria is when would be a week that we could provide pre and post care. That way, and then to break it into kind of age blocks, right? So my program for 17-year-olds would look a lot different than my 10-year-olds. So to kind of do like a block for anywhere between, I think I was thinking as low as 7, kind of like your 7 to 11, and then your 12 to 17, and that then to make the programming a little bit different, but to do that as a summer camp, because I find that kiddos, that kind of works well, it seems. So I would take the 10 weeks and kind of smash it into 5 days or 4 days. I haven't really written the content yet. But that way we can do the kiddo version during the summer where I'm not having to fight for, well, sorry, my kid can't go to this concert or meet or whatever because they're doing, they're going to tromp around the water treatment plant.
Okay, love that so much, so very much. I think that's so cool. Kim, you're one of my favorite people in the city. Anyways, the second question is also directed at you. Is there a second version of Citizens Academy ever coming down the...
Oh my God, girl, you're like reading my mind.
I just really love it. I just think Citizens Academy is the coolest way for people to learn about the city.
I haven't fully formed it yet, so this is a little bit of a peekaboo preview, but I am putting together an alumni association. Yes, I know. Bow out now, everybody. Change your emails. So, and actually, I'm going to kind of tether a couple of things together. I have already talked to the presenter of the first alumni associations group. This is going to be a total, and again, I have not sent out interviews. I haven't even picked a date. But I have wondered if kind of the alumni association looks past the city governance into support roles. And I was thinking of my friends at Clay County Health Center would be our first presenter to kind of talk about what the Clay County Health Center does. They do serve the residents of North Kansas City. They often operate in the background. People don't really have a firm understanding of what they do. They do operate here in every place that you eat or drink. They have been through there. They offer immunizations. They track from an epidemiology standpoint. If you were born in Clay County, you need them for your birth certificate. And if somebody you love, went the other way, you're going to need them for a certificate for that as well. But for them to kind of come and present and get an understanding of how they serve North Kansas City, answer any questions you may have. I thought that kind of maybe expanding out to county roles and maybe even then asking for some state options. DESI, there's a lot of state offices that operate and we are beneficiary of their work, but we don't, you don't maybe really have an opportunity to get to know what they do and question a real life staffer. So that's kind of my next version of the Alumni Association is kind of a formal get-together. I think it would allow different cohorts to be able to mingle and get to know one another, and for us to kind of be able to use you as a bit of a sounding board, I hate to say it, a pilot program, kind of be able to see what, maybe it's been a couple of years. Do you have any questions now that, time has passed? So coming to an inbox near you, not immediately, give me a few weeks, but I have lined up my first speaker.
Before we move forward, we are done with ad hocs. Great. I had no idea you finished. I was like, what are we talking about? I do not have this handout.
I was trying to figure out if children could join committees because to the point of if not, that is what the ad hoc committees could serve.
Got it. I just
youth.
got real confused.
I just wanted to know first if they were allowed to, and
Great.
then second,
cool. Yeah. For ad hoc, bring the kids. We're moving formally into part number 8, committee member comments. Please. Well, that's what I was like. Did just we moved on. Okay, formally community member comments.
I don't know if I should do this in comments or announcements, but I was gonna let you guys know, when I finish out my term in December, I'm not gonna be back on the committee. I've really loved being on the committee, but I do feel like I'm just struggling to find the time to commit fully to it right now, and I would hate to take a seat if there's someone out there that could commit fully to it right now. So I already let Kristen know, so I know she's already looking for somebody, but I want to let you guys know as well.
The procedure is if you have a comment, share a comment.
So that's a bummer, but totally understandable, as obviously I would know with, some of the availability issues that have had lately. I did want to, in the announcement section, just say, I had missed the most recent meeting and the most recent work session, and a lot of things changed. And a lot of things that we knew were going to change. It's weird. I am very optimistic. This is exciting. I think that we have a lot of momentum now with a full committee. I really appreciate the notice of, not until the end of the term, that kind of thing. And just quick of what Jess was saying about other people, we are now the Community Enrichment Advisory Committee. And as I was reading through all of that and really liking, okay, I like the way that we're going forward. Then it's about the community and the community advisement. The Community Enrichment Advisory Committee should not be 9 people. It should be as many people as we can make it. There are 9 people acting as committee members, but we do need the community engagement, that exactly what you were talking about. So a long-winded way to say in my announcement of just I am very optimistic and excited about what we're doing going forward. That's it.
Oh, go ahead.
That's it.
I just want to say that when I got the email and I looked at the agenda and I saw these attachments, just because I'm so used to having done that back when I worked in the corporate world, I printed everything off, and I didn't know where they came from, but I got so excited when I read through the attachments that were yours. And I'm going, this is what we need to do. This is it. Now we're going to be on the right track. And I didn't know where they came from at that point. So thank you, Jess, for putting those in there. And I could tell you put some time into it as well.
I will piggyback on what Simon said. Again, I will reiterate that I love that there are 4 members of City Council here. When I met with Kristen not too long ago, one, I learned she's really, really cool. I'm really, really glad that she's here. If anybody would like to start a North Kansas City Dungeons and Dragons, please reach out. We'd like to discuss. Anyways, beyond that, this is what this is what it should be. We should have as many council members as can attend in attendance. This room, even if every other council committee is empty, this room should have people in it who are ready to engage with us because we're out there engaging with them. So I'm really excited. I think we're going to do some really, really cool stuff. Kim, you will not be staying. You are here just in term, right? I'm really glad you're here today, Kim. So anyway, that's it.
I normally have I do have the things. Okay. Starting on September 15th is the start of Hispanic Heritage Month. You will learn something new every day and still not know enough. Please explore the world of Hispanic heritage. There is so much to learn, and it's so interesting. Please explore that to help yourself. I'm very excited of where we're going. I think opening this up to enrichment for the city of North Kansas City is going to welcome everyone who needs to be here. While the choices we've had to make over the last, it feels like forever, 5 months? Is 5 months right? I don't know. The year, I don't know, million years, have felt really hard and contentious and yucky. I feel like the path forward is right, and we have a really good foundation of where we're going. So thank you for being here with me.
I would like to add, is it not also Suicide Prevention Month?
Oh, yes. Yesterday was National Suicide Prevention Day? Awareness Day? And then today is September 11th, so we're honoring those who have passed. And with that comes a lot of weight. So appreciate those who worked hard for our country and saved us from a really hard day. Council member liaison comments and updates.
Hello. Glad to be here. How many of y'all have done the Citizens Academy? I'm just curious. Like, okay, cool. I haven't either, so I really was so curious. Okay, great. I was just curious. And I was just thinking, like, what a fun combination of, like, getting people involved. Because I do think that is really important. People don't always know where to go. Like, they may want to get involved, but they don't always know how. And then that's a big barrier to figure out how for a lot of people. So I'm excited to really get out there because I think a lot of people in the community have really good ideas and just don't always take that next step to make them heard. And sometimes as like the city staff or governing body, it's hard also to take that step with all of the other things going on, like life is busy. So I'm excited that there's a group who's gonna kind of take that in between, like make that gap close a little bit. And that was big. I'm excited to get to know y'all. Hopefully I'll like get coffee with you all at some point soon. Ryan, I'm sad you're leaving. I'll still see you on walks at least. I think that's it. Tony, do you have anything to add? Okay, thanks, Tony.
Can I add?
Yeah, that's it. Excited to be here.
Tony, I'm really glad you're here. We love you. You've done really great things with this committee, and I'm really happy that you are still going to be showing up like you always have and continuing to do work too. I think having both of you here is the coolest. Actually, all four of you should just start coming every time. That'd be really, really cool.
Moving into announcements.
So just real quick, my new BFF at the Clay County Health Department or Center, she has offered to, if this committee was open to it, to come and present a little bit on health indicators and data points that the health center knows about North Kansas City, as well as they recently have been going through a process of updating their policies and their missions. And again, she knows North Kansas City. She's got some familiarity with it and a little bit of love. Her name is Lauren, and she has offered if you had some availability in your October committee, she would love to come and do a little presentation and perhaps have a little dialogue, get some understanding from you of what maybe you would like to know from her perspective, from a public health perspective, would like to know, and then she can run that information and share that back to you.
We would love to have her. And I think in that case, we'll probably plan to have our October meeting a little light so we make time for that conversation and presentation. But we will have our election. We will do it. Selection, whatever. Okay. Well then, if there are no more announcements, it is 7:18 and I will end this first meeting of the SEAC.